Hello and welcome to my video. So in this video I plan on doing like a 2024 reading wrap up because I don't plan on reading any more books this year, or at least finishing any. It is currently the day after Christmas. So I was like, might as well film this kind of going through all of the books I've read and doing like a little recap on them. So I recently just read my 20th book and I have a video on that, and my reading goal for 2024 was 20 books. And so I'm really glad that I finished that. I think that's probably the most books I've ever read, like probably not including like childhood like picture books, but like thicker books as like an older kid, I guess, if that makes sense. Just a little recap through all of my kind of statistics for the year. Okay. And the app I use is StoryGraph. It's very fun. It's the first year I'm using it. It makes kind of like statistics and graphs based on like your reading patterns. Like it'll give like a monthly breakdown of like you've read this many books compared to this many pages, kind of like this right here. Um, but it's very interesting. And also, just a little side note, for Christmas, I did get a camera, which is what I'm currently recording this on. I'm going to take a little video to kind of show it. And then I also got a tripod. Sorry, my room is a little messy. You'll see on this video. Because I've got like all of my Christmas stuff. But that is an exciting thing because I want to kind of use the camera and tripod for filming videos. I might make a video kind of on my plans for 2025, but off track. This is my reading wrap up. So, to begin, I've read 20 books this year. So, the first kind of stat on StoryGraph is it goes for like a basic overview. I've read 20 books, which came to 6,103 pages, which is pretty insane. I feel like that's a lot of pages, and like my reading was not like linear, it was very up and down, which you'll see later on the graph. My average time to finish a book was 23 days, which isn't bad because I didn't really start reading until like over the summer. So I feel like it's a little skewed, but that's not bad. And then it gives a table on the moods that I've read. It looks like the most is emotional, dark, and reflective and mysterious books, which is kind of interesting. Um, and then going down to the pace section, most books are medium paced, but I also tend to read fast paced books. I haven't read any slow paced books, which is kind of interesting. And then page number, yeah, I've read quite a few big books. So I've read, most of them are between 300 and basically 500 pages, but I've read quite a few that are under 300, which I know at least two of them I read for class. It was The Stranger by Albert Camus. It's French. And then also A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen. I read both of those in class, and they were like, I know The Stranger was under 200, and then A Doll's House was 80 pages. Um, Most I read was nonfiction. I only read one that was fiction. And I can like tap to kind of see. So like 30% is 6 books. So definitely my top genre is young adult, but also I've read, that's in between 10 and 15, maybe 13 books. And then I've read 5 romance, mystery, contemporary, and then it kind of goes down. I only read one horror book, Stalking Jack the Ripper. I wouldn't really call that horror. Like it kind of was, but it wasn't like a Stephen King, or I think it's Stephen King actually. um, any type of like bad horror or like actually scary books. Um, So then the format, mostly I read print. I did read 3 audiobooks, and that was the Hunger Games series. I read all 3, well, listened to all 3 over the summer. So that was 34 and a half hours. But I guess at the beginning, that would be in page format is 6,000 total. So actual pages, I read just shy of 5,000 pages, which is kind of wild. So then again, my most read author is Susan Collins because I read all 3 of the Hunger Games books. All of my books were in English, and so now I'm at the part that, like, this graph I really like. So I'm gonna set it to just books read. So I only read no books in February and April, and the most books I read was 3, which is not bad. Um, but yeah, it's very like up and down books. But so yeah, I started reading a lot in May-ish. But I wouldn't say that's bad because I feel like the beginning of the year was mainly books I read for English class. So now switching over to pages read, read the most pages. When is that? It's not September, October. I think I read the most pages in October, which is pretty cool. And together, like, they are pretty, like, congruent, I guess. So I think, like, in May and June, I read more books that were shorter because the pages are, like, a lot further down. But I think it's just interesting, like, having a graph that shows, like, your reading trends. So now my star reviews. So it does say I've only rated 19 books. The book I didn't rate was, what was it called? It was by Gabriel Martinez, A Chronicle of a Death Foretold. I read that book in class and I didn't rate it, um, or leave a review. Um, but it was a book for class. It wasn't, I don't know. By the time I joined the app, I didn't, it was a while ago. So it wasn't the best book. So I'd probably rate it like around 3 stars. So now I'm going to go kind of more in depth. So I'll probably go more in depth for the over 5 stars, but looking at my 3 star, I've rated 4 books this year 3 stars. So I rated Catching Fire because I kind of felt like it was more of an in between than having its own like standout characteristics in the series. A Doll's House because it was a novella. The Eyes Are Watching God and The Stranger. The last 3 I all read for school, and so like we also had to do other stuff for it, which I feel like kind of impacted like my rating because it wasn't just me reading. It was, oh, you've got to annotate these, oh, let's write an essay on it, and kind of other stuff, which I feel does kind of impact like my enjoyment of it. Um, so then 3.5 stars, I had 3 books with 3.5 stars. The Murder Game, the first Hunger Games, and by the time you read this, I'll be gone. So the first Hunger Games wasn't bad. It was a reread. Like I think I'd already finished it before, but it wasn't bad. And the 2 others were murder mystery books, which I read in the same video of like I did all murder mystery books. Um, they weren't bad, but they also weren't like standout. Um, by the time you read this, I'll Be Gone is a series, and I will continue the series. Um, but it also like I also in that same like kind of stretch of murder mysteries read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which was awesome, and I think I rated 5 stars, and so I feel like it almost got overshadowed like the other 2 murder mystery books, but they were still good. And then I had 1 4 star, which was This Is My Brain on Boys, and this was actually the first YouTube video book I did. It was pretty good. It was kind of a slow start, but I feel like the ending kind of boosted it. Like maybe the beginning would have been closer to 3 stars and the ending was like 4. So I did rate it 4 stars. So then now up to the others. And I did actually have like a very high rating year Um, Next year I might be a little harsher. I don't know, because I had 4 5 stars, which is kind of a lot for only 20 books. But anyways, 4.5 stars. I had 3 books. Stalking Jack the Ripper, which is a series. I think it might be like a trilogy with a few like half books. So This Is Ever After and Summer Lost. I'd say that out of the 4.5 stars, Stalking Jack the Ripper was my least favorite of them, and probably So This Is Ever After would be my most favorite. Um, I feel like Stalking Jack the Ripper might be a little high. Like I might, if I read it now, I'd probably do 4.25 stars. Um, but overall, I did enjoy all of these books. Summer Lost was really good, and I kind of wish that it was a series. I can't remember if it is, but I think Ali Condi has more books, and I would definitely like to read it. It was kind of more um, like middle school type book, but it was very cute. I did enjoy it. It was kind of like a, I don't know, like I think there were like 12 or 13, and it was like the summer kind of adventure type book. So it was quite cute. Um, so now 4.75, which I also had 4 books rated this. So Educated. This was actually a book I read for school, but I read the majority of it over spring break to catch up, and it was so good. This was the only fiction book I read, and it's a memoir by Tara Westover, who grew up in like a heavily Mormon family, like kind of doomsday planners, and like her story was really interesting, and there's kind of like a lot of drama behind it. Um, I don't want to like spoil anything, but her mom did release a memoir called Educating as like a rebuttal to Educated, and I don't know, it was just a very interesting book. Like all like there's so many moments that like my jaw was on the floor, like with some of her stories of her childhood and her memories and everything. But it was also very inspiring because she like didn't go to school, and then all of a sudden like I think she gets like a doctorate or something. But it's just very starkly contrasted. Okay. And then I had Solitaire, and then Mockingjay 3, Hunger Games 3, and Check and Mate. I really, really loved Solitaire, and I really need to get around to reading more Alice Osman books. Um, but yeah, I don't have much to say about the other books. Um, but yeah, 4.25 star or 4.75 stars seems about right. Okay, so now on to 5 stars. So my 5 star reads were Butcher and Blackbird, How It Feels to Float, Flower Heart, and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I loved all of these books, and I think all of them, no, only 2 of them are in a series, and I need to read the rest of the series. I read Butcher and Blackbird in June, and I have the second book, and my boyfriend actually gave me another copy of the second book. I kind of feel bad about that. Um, but I need to read it, and I also need to read the rest of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I kind of want to watch the TV show. Um, but Flower Heart and How It Feels to Float were actually, I think, my last 2 books I read. Um, they were just amazing. I want to read, like, both authors have one other book that it's not a series, but I want to read those books because I just love the writing style of both of the authors so much. Helena Fox like was very unique. It was almost like just little blurbs. It was very like internal monologue, how you think like kind of in sections, and then like sometimes the chapters were like a quarter of a page long, and then it moved on to another. But they also weren't numbered, so it didn't feel like, oh, chapter 150, like. And then Flower Heart was just very beautiful writing. Like it was, I don't say want to say magical realism. It was more just like fantasy kind of. But I love the inclusion of flowers. like the main character is very connected with like flowers and flora, and it's very in depth on like kind of the meanings behind flowers, and it was just very interesting to read. Um, but yeah, I loved all of these books. I don't think I hated any of the books, even the ones like I wrote rated 3 stars. Like they weren't bad. Like I also didn't DNF any books. I'd say I had a very good reading year. Um, it was very fun, and also starting this YouTube channel, I've had a lot of fun. Um, coming up with different video ideas and filming and getting into editing and kind of learning all of the processes that come with it. I think that's all of the review, yeah, on StoryGraph. But I definitely really love this app and will be continuing using it in the future. Um, but yeah, that was my reading wrap up. Um, maybe kind of short. It looks like it's at 17 minutes, and this is the first time I'm using this camera, so I hope this worked. I didn't like do a testing for audio or anything, so I'm really hoping that the audio is good. Um, but yeah, so for 2025, I am planning on kind of changing it up a little bit. I'm not sure what my reading goal is going to be. I'm thinking like 15 books maybe, because I'll be reading more throughout the year, not just starting in like the summer. But also, I kind of want to do other stuff with this channel, not just having it like a reading channel. Like, I want to try maybe doing like video games, probably like Minecraft, maybe Sims 4, probably not. And Stardew Valley, because those are like my favorite games. Maybe doing like some playthroughs or different things. Um, I do really love reading, and I was inspired by kind of Just Ali, a book YouTuber, but I also really like Tofu Goop, and she does a lot of vlogs. I feel like that's a little hard because I do still like live at home with my whole family, but I am going to college next year, so maybe I could do a little more of like lifestyle vlogs, but I'm not sure. I also like to craft, and so maybe I'll do like some crafting videos. But yeah, that's kind of like a little 2024 recap, and I can't wait to continue making videos in 2025. So, if you have watched all of this and kind of listened to my ramblings, thank you so much. And I hope you had happy holidays and a great new year. Bye.